Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Neville.
Morning, Tony.
Awesome to see you. So Neville Gaunt is here with me today on hashtag TalkwithTman, and my name is Tony Flath, and this is a fun thing we're doing and a vlogcast that I'm putting out. And Neville and I have been interacting online for some time and met through social media, and certainly have some common interests and common background, and both love rugby, and so certainly and we're no stranger to a pint of beer either, I think, eh?
The odd one or two.
Yeah, the odd one or two. Yeah. So today we're doing a little chat and just getting to know a little bit more about Neville. He's got a great story. He's doing some amazing stuff. So without further ado, here is Neville Gaunt. I turn it over to you, Neville. Let's start with your story. How'd you get here? You didn't just show up. So take it away.
Well, my kids thought I was born at 30, but that's another story. But it's been a bit of a long journey to be where I am. Believe it or not, I started off life as an accountant, which will now turn everybody off. Because who knows an exciting accountant, eh?
Like this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, bye.
Like, come on, get up. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's move on to more interesting stuff. And I worked in the oil industry for nigh on 30 years as a full-time employee. I traveled the world, bag carried, saw a lot of different people, different cultures, realized that the joint venture world of the oil and gas industry was really exciting. I mean, you come, being from Canada, all about what goes on in Calgary and how there's a buzz
we slip
around
in oil when we go out the driveway, yeah.
Exactly. You do. Yeah, I'm a good mechanic, actually. I know in Edmonton. You could go to him. But anyway, what I experienced in the oil industry was absolutely fascinating. Every single day was different, despite the fact I had two jobs, actually. I had a day job and an evening job, but we won't go into that. It's just because of the experience that I had. And but every day was different, although it might call it boring accountancy. But you were dealing with people all the time and dealing with lots of different companies, lots of different cultures of those companies, not just British cultures, but Canadian cultures, American cultures, Brazilian cultures, and even, sadly, the French got in as well. But, less said about that too. But it sort of introduced me to the world of people, although I was really task focused. The project was important, and that's what happened. So in other words, you got on the bus, you went ding ding, and everyone flew. But they didn't all fly at the same time because we were all around the world. So I was probably dealing in the social media side, I suppose, for an international oil company in the late 80s with video conferencing and everything like that. So this, to me, is almost like water off a duck's back, really.
It's like a blast from the past.
It is. Yeah. But the nice thing is it's free.
Yeah.
Setting up those video conferencing rooms in the sort of 80s, you can imagine.
Those telco guys made a lot of money on selling that back then. Yeah.
Yeah, they saw you coming. They went, oil? Yeah, we can have you.
Yeah, we can put you on video, yeah.
Exactly, we put you on video, and we went on video. You want to record it? Oh, that's extra, I mean, talk about learning upsell. I mean, boy.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to be a salesman these days, as we know.
Absolutely.
But when you talk to these telco guys, you really do know what upsell is. And you also know that they haven't got it and they've got to go and find it, which I suppose that's quite interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's very true. And it's also very true that how things have advanced. Like, I've got all this gear set up for under a couple $100, and I'm recording and publishing to the World Wide Web on a back end that...
Yeah.
That's free on YouTube. So it's quite a change, right? Like, things have certainly changed. It's a great way to get a message out. I think we'll see more and more of it. And it's funny, I have a little bit of a background story with accounting as well, as you know, and I started a young career there, first on a path to be an accountant. And when pressed on, I sold myself in the interview because I'm just kind of a natural sales guy. And when the guy who was training me started pressing me on, is that a debit or a credit? And I'm like, credit? And he's like, no, it's not. That's a debit. And he said, you better go home and hit your books. So that night I stayed up till 2 a.m. in the morning, and those T-bars still are etched in my brain. So, but certainly appreciated it. It certainly gave me a good perspective. I did a lot over the years, and everything's always tied back to how does that cost out? How does that work? When you get into the sales back end and how that flows through and forecasting, certainly a good skill to know. So very excited to hear more about your story. I know you've done a lot with MindFit, and now you've got this Your Passport to Grow. Maybe share a little more on the MindFit, and then how that morphed into this whole amazing program that you're working with youth. Love to hear about that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I came out of the oil industry and sort of semi-retired because I'd probably had enough of corporate life, really. One thing that's rich in corporate life is no matter how many opportunities you give to someone, they tend not to take the right option. So
that's a polite way to say they just don't get it.
Exactly. Well, they just didn't get it, and mine was all about, it was all about the journey and the project value. So whether it was an oil and gas project or a non-oil and gas, which is my evening job, actually, because no one wants to know about non-core assets in any industry, let alone just the oil industry. So I sort of semi-retired and then got volunteered for everything. My wife volunteered me to be a parent governor at school. So I got into that, and I thought, my goodness, what have I let myself in for here? I mean, we're there for being this critical friend, as they keep calling it, and I've got to hold my tongue, because I can be really critical here, or we can get it right. And I was actually seeing, and this was about 2003, I was actually seeing that there was a massive disconnect, as I knew from my oil background, between what education we're delivering, the supply chain, people, and what businesses need. We don't need job-ready people. I mean, it'd be brilliant if you could get a job-ready graduate, but the fact is they're never going to be job-ready, because that's why they're coming to do the job, and you couldn't afford them if they were job-ready. So that's the whole point of, bringing on someone who's not that experienced.
It's so true, yeah.
But what I was finding was they weren't even work-ready. And there is a massive gap between being work-ready and job-ready, and being work-ready and non-work-ready. And it all boiled down to this word that you can see above my head, because I more or less wear it with a halo, of attitude. And it's people that have got the right attitude. And you, being an ex-HR man as well, you've been through the HR bit, you know how important sales is. I mean, you certainly sold yourself to get a job you weren't qualified to do in the accounting.
over and over and over
again.
I'm still doing it. Yeah.
Exactly. So you're an interesting specimen like myself. You sort of slipped into the world of sales, I suppose, and it's all about knowing the other person, having the understanding of where their problems are, and that's that. Oil, I'll go back to the oil background, because it was always problem solve. And I didn't realise that although I was really a hard taskmaster, I wanted to make sure that my team were always on the bus. Mm-hmm. So I'd motivate them and incentivise them, even take them down to the pub. As you well know, I like the odd pint or several.
Sure. You're a social guy, yeah.
Well, the point is, you sort of have to be. They get to know you, you get to know them, you work hard, play hard. That was the mantra in the industry, and I'm sure it's the mantra in many other industries.
You can't work in sales and not get past that, yeah.
Exactly. So we all don't understand what plastering is, and that's not putting plaster up on a wall, it's actually getting plastered. That's pretty common around the world. But why I sort of, having volunteered, because I did a lot of mentoring for places like the Kent Foundation, which was mentoring young people into entrepreneurship.
Yep.
And I was finding more and more of this big divide, almost like as wide as the Grand Canyon, of what was coming out of the education system and what was needed by the business system. And it was just, whoa, it was just getting wider and wider. And people were trying to fill it with pockets of innovative solutions. And we struggle in a global way of initiative-itis, as I call it. Lots and lots of great initiatives. Well, why don't we actually collaborate on one initiative and get after it? So why doesn't the business community get after something that really does work, that changes people's attitude, that gets them into being the best they can be, and now put them in the context where they can test it? And that's really what MindFit's all about. It's actually taking you as an individual, you looking in the mirror. So you looking at yourself, not critically, but objectively. Who am I? Mm-hmm. What am I doing? What am I doing well? What do I like to do? What am I not doing really well? What do I don't like to do? And you tend to find there's a correlation between what you like to do and what you do well, and what you don't like to do and what you don't do very well. It's not surprising, really. Absolutely. And we'll call that our purpose. And a company has a purpose. And I'm not talking about vision and mission here. I'm actually talking about a purpose. You know, what are we here to do? And you look around the world and there aren't many organizations that can really identify what their purpose is. You know, Apple have evolved. Apple, I learned yesterday, Apple is the first company to be $1 trillion company.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, first one.
Private company.
Yeah.
And you think, wow, you know, from Acorns or from little apple cores, maybe. But you see that the company's evolved and they've grown and they've got better, despite the fact that their leadership has changed. And that's evolving.
Yeah.
But guess what? You know, great leaders make great companies.
Absolutely.
They get engagement. They get people, they understand each and every line reportee so that they understand what makes them tick, what doesn't make them tick, what they're interested in, what they're incentivized by, and you become a coach. So great leadership is all about coaching. Frankly, it's not about anything else. It's not being a leader, flying a flag out there and expecting people to follow.
Yeah, not like, do as I say, do it. Yeah, no.
Well, I'm not going to do as you say, Tony, because I don't believe it. Okay? And that's the whole point.
I'll come across the pond. Yeah.
Well, you've given the game away now. You're not actually there. But anyway, you tend to find that the characteristics of being a great leader have been written by thousands and thousands of people. Mm-hmm. But if there was a great leadership book, which was, you know, no, this is water, by the way. It's nothing else.
Okay, sure. Yeah, no.
Still relatively early in the afternoon. It's clear, but it's not vodka. If you were to drink this elixir on a daily basis and become a great leader, how much would you pay for it?
Yeah.
You know? I mean, we would say that if we could bottle up MindFit as a fragrance, it'd be the most expensive fragrance in the world. But boy, you wouldn't be able to get hold of it because it'd go off the shelf so quickly. Nice. So having the right attitude inside you, the fire in the belly that gets you up, because I know you're this is early for you.
Yeah.
But interesting enough, I was talking to Pakistan at this time, your time in the morning. So if you've got something that really excites you, really interests you, you move heaven and earth to get there. And you feel tired at the end of it, but you feel fulfilled.
Yeah, it's true. And I think that fulfillment speaks volumes. And, you know, when you're saying looking in the mirror and looking in this camera and thinking about some of your posts online through our interactions, right, is the tap, 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 right? Yeah, there you go, right there, right?
Are you listening? Yeah, are you listening, Tony?
Yeah,
are you listening?
Oh. It is early morning here. I do have my coffee going, right?
Yeah,
you know,
we all believe it's coffee.
Yeah, let's bear that in mind. Well, if I'm going on UK time, then I'm fine, right? That's the loveliness of the internet, right? But I mean, you certainly make some great points, and you know, I'm with you with that, right? It's and this is part of this whole thing with just going for it, right? Like, you know, it's getting that message out there, and there's such a great message you can convey across the internet, you know, with video, and
Yeah.
I'm interacting with so many great people like yourself, and then some just amazing young people that are, you know, doing some great things out there, and certainly look forward to more, right? So, you know, looking here, you know, in the last few minutes of our chat, what are some things that you're kind of, you know, focused in on and, you know, really driving things? I know you've got a lot of great stuff with your Passport to Grow going on with Ali in Pakistan. And, you know, we'd all love to hear a little more about that.
Well, what really fires me up at the moment is going back almost 20 years now, when I first came out of corporate life and I got volunteered to do a job I didn't want to do. So it was this being a school governor. I just believe we're not giving young people the best opportunity in life. We're forcing this qualifications is everything, knowing actually that's not true anymore. And it's not true for two reasons. When I went to university, there were 2% of UK 18-year-olds went to university. There's now 52% that go. And there are more of them,
Yeah.
you know, because I'm an old guy, I'm 59. So 41 years ago, I went to university. The population has grown in 40 years, not surprisingly. But equally, there are more 18-year-olds now than there were when I was at school. So not only there's 52% going, but there's more of them anyway. So it's a bigger cohort. So businesses or even an entrepreneurial arena have got more choice now. So qualifications really don't cut it, I'm afraid.
No.
Because the choice that the employers have got is immense. And the second thing is they don't need as many people as they used to have.
No.
Because of what we are literally talking about here, you know, this technological shift, which has created jobs in some areas but displaced them in others. And we do know in the next sort of 5 or 10 years that the retail arena, not just in the UK but in a global basis, will lose probably 40 to 50% of their employees.
Yeah, it's significant, and I think you make a good point too. And I see this too from the way the traditional learning has worked. This isn't going to cut it anymore. There's jobs that we need to fill in 2 years from now that we don't even fully know what the job description is yet because of the advancement in technology. And it's a real way to, you know, leverage. How do you get these individuals who are young and, you know, discouraged to really see that light of where these, you know, paths are taking? And, you know, it's not just about being a developer and, you know, being able to code something and use technology. It's about understanding it, explaining it, and learning it. And, you know, it's becoming much more cloud enabled, edge enabled, all these different capabilities, right? That are, you know, capable with that. And that's where I see a lot of encouragement needed, and certainly I see this program as a great way to help individuals, young individuals. Maybe they've gone through school and now they're feeling a little discouraged, or they're in that space and they're hearing from friends, and you know that there is that discouragement. We see that here in Canada. Like there's a shortage on the labor side of things. But then there's, you know, are not on the on the labor side. But then at the academic jobs and the white collar jobs, it's so saturated, right? So there's that whole shift in focus, and you know, how do you better train? And a lot of these, you know, jobs that are labor, you know, intense are becoming much more technical as well, with technology enabling them, right? Yep. So it's certainly an interesting time. Well, hey, this has been fantastic. So last minute shout out here. What you got going on? I know it's hot there. It's been pretty hot here as well, but here in Edmonton in Canada, we'll take it. And you're just outside of London. Where you're just whereabouts are you there?
Yeah, I'm literally due east of London. As the crow flies, about 13 miles to Trafalgar Square. So we're far enough away from London to get the benefit of the rural community, because I've got lots of trees around me. But I'm close enough to London so that you can get in and out of the big city. and do business, because I've still got the day job that pays the wages, etc. of the MindFit arena and personal development, the coaching, the leadership development programs, which are all really exciting because there's no two jobs are the same.
Yeah.
Although it's people, but we don't know where they start, but we know where they're going to end up. They're going to end up in a far better place, a happier place by the time we've finished. But the thing that's really, really got my fire at the moment is Your Passport to Grow, YP2G.
Yep.
And that's what's really it's got fire in the belly for a 59-year-old that's still got fire in their belly. Most people are looking probably to retire at my age, but as I said to someone, my father died just about 80, so I've got 21 years. If the history goes in the same direction, where I can go and annoy people, I'm going to certainly annoy lots of educational establishments. Annoy in a nice way. Give them a nudge and just say, this is everything that kids should be learning at school, but don't.
Right. Well, hey, this has been so exciting, and I certainly enjoyed it today, and we'll certainly stay in touch and more to follow. Have a fantastic weekend. Try to, cool off there, do what you can.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we need to, I heard that there's not really air conditioners there, so maybe this is the time for the door-to-door air conditioner to show off, right?
You're definitely right. Definitely right. Actually, you could pass me your air conditioner. I'll just take it now. Is that okay?
I'll try to get some that way for you, yeah.
That's right.
Sorry, my wife would say just hot air blowing out of me, right?
Yeah, we won't say what end.
Yeah.
Oh, too much information.
On that note, at any rate, it's been great chatting, and take care.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Take care.
Bye now.